Our government spent millions on a urine sniff test and video games about layoffs.
That seems insane that we're spending money trying to figure out things like that.
We investigate billions in subsidies pouring into Ivy League schools while public college students in Florida get swamped in debt.
It gets to be very strenuous.
Our special guests are Congressman Charlie Crist and Fox 13 pollster Matt Towery. Plus, one last round, our final edition of Political Squares. This is Money, Power, and Politics. And we'll start with a couple of things you may not know about the president's plan to rebuild our bridges and our roads. It first may not cost taxpayers as much as you may think, and it may not bring as much to Tampa Bay as you may want.
To launch our national rebuilding, I will be asking Congress to approve legislation that produces a $1 trillion investment in infrastructure of the United States.
That does not mean we'd spend $1 trillion tax dollars. Republican leaders in Congress would never go for that anyway. The plan Trump first announced on the campaign trail would give private companies tax credits for building stuff. House Speaker Paul Ryan said that private investors would put up most of that $1 trillion, which they then could recoup through tolls or user fees.
His plan that he did not explain would do it all through toll roads and tax credits for the wealthy, not through the investment that we need to back up our cities and our counties.
The president rolled out a preliminary list of 50 projects he wants to kick off, but none of them are in the Tampa Bay and Central Florida areas. Florida only has one road project on the entire list near Miami, and it has already received the money it needs to get built. There's also no mention of high-speed rail in Tampa Bay, which the feds had once approved $2.4 billion to build until Governor Scott refused the money. Okay, let's bring in Congressman and former Governor Charlie Crist. Mr. Crist, thank you for your time.
Great to be with you, Craig.
Okay, if you had to grade your work so far, hasn't been long. A, B, C, D, or F, what would you give yourself in terms of effort and results?
Oh, I wouldn't grade myself. That's for the people of the 13th Congressional District to do. I'm just trying to work hard every day, Craig, and do what's right for them. Make sure that they're represented well here in Washington. Look forward to getting home on virtually every weekend so I can stay in touch with my friends at the Publix or the CVS or the Walgreens. It's important to be in touch with my boss, and that are the people of this district. And they have a right to expect that I will listen to their concerns, that I will fight for them every single day, and that's exactly what I'm focused on doing.
On that point, you hired a district director back in November. Then just a few weeks later, he wound up working for your possible, if not likely, challenger, David Jolly. How did that happen? What went wrong, and where do you go from here?
Well, I wish him only the best. He decided to take a new position. That's his right. We would have been happy to have him stay on, but that's not the way it turned out. People have to do what they think is right in their heart, and I'm sure he did.
President Trump wants to spend $1 trillion on infrastructure. You want a high-speed train from Orlando to Tampa Bay. Tell me what you're doing or what you're going to do to work that high-speed train into the infrastructure plan.
Well, I want to, number one, I think infrastructure is incredibly important. I know that the people of Florida understand that. Their hearts were broken when our governor decided not to take that high-speed rail between Orlando and Tampa a few years ago. That would have been the right thing to do for I-4 and made it a lot easier for a lot more people to be able to go safely between Orlando and Tampa Bay. Having said that, we need new roads, we need new bridges. Transportation is a ginormous issue in Tampa Bay. It's difficult to get around, one of the most beautiful places on the planet. So I applaud what the administration is trying to do as it relates to infrastructure. It is something I will support. I know that we need it, and we need to get it done as quickly as we can.
Congressman Crist, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Craig. Great to be with you.
YouTube channel for extended interviews with the lawmakers. Search for Craig Patrick's Money, Power, and Politics and click subscribe. You'll also find our investigations of money in politics. That brings us to tonight's investigation, because while Bright Future scholarships have been scaled back, do not cover what they did, and tuition has shot up in recent years, and students, of course, many of them mired in debt, our government at the same time is pumping billions of dollars into the elite Ivy League schools. And Marissa Lynn followed the money.
The bills are stacking up.
There's not much we can do about it, at least for now.
And the state Senate president says Florida universities are being shortchanged. Their counterparts at the elite Ivy League schools get billions from taxpayers to do things like ask people if they can smell asparagus pea. That was a real Harvard University study, and it cost $3 million. Or make a video game about the recession in which players try to fire people as fast as they can.
And that seems insane that we're spending money trying to figure out things like that when, there's so many more important issues that we could be tackling.
Like restoring Bright Futures scholarship money and helping students like William Lindsay who struggle to pay for class.
Do you have a job to help pay for your tuition?
Yes, I'm a bartender. I work nights until like 2, 3 in the morning to help me pay for school.
Here in Florida, tuition at public universities has gone up almost $2,500 since 2008. Students pay an average of more than $6,000 for tuition. It's below the national average, but still a bitter pill to swallow for students like Lindsay, who besides paying for class, are also paying taxes to subsidize America's 8 Ivy League schools. According to research from tax watchdog Open the Books, Ivy League schools got $30 billion in taxpayer assistance from 2010 to 2014. Over the course of a 4-year degree, that comes out to around $102,000 per student annually. Public universities get only a fraction of that, around $15,000 per student.
I have a friend who's also doing a double major, and he has a job or two, and it's hard for them to even focus on their studies. But I also have friends who go to those upper schools and they're not working, so it does kind of show that point.
According to Open the Books, during that same time period, the Ivy League also received $117 billion in endowment funds. That's enough to provide free tuition for every student.
So what is the overriding public purpose for working and middle-class taxpayers to continue to fund education institutions like our Ivy League, the prestigious universities that actually have no need for taxpayer help?
Remember that video game about the recession? Taxpayers doled out $137,000 to Dartmouth College for that, while some researchers at public universities here in Florida don't get a dime.
A lot of the people that are doing research here, they have to apply for grants, and sometimes they don't even get them.
Columbia University got $5.7 million to fund a computer game called Future Coast. Players listen to voicemails from the future warning about climate change. Meanwhile, in real time, students like William Lindsay put off sleep to study.
Having to stay up for long hours doing homework and then having to go to work and then having to finish it for the next day, it gets to be very strenuous.
Working and paying for himself and other students too.
Marissa, you spent a lot of time digging into the numbers here. How much debt have students racked up in student loans so far?
Well, believe it or not, it's almost $1.3 trillion, and that is a lot more than the $370 billion from just a decade ago. So yeah, more than $700 billion more than 10 years ago.
Across the $1 trillion mark and counting. So in Florida, Bright Futures does not cover what it did. What are the chances state lawmakers may restore Bright Futures fully this year?
Well, it is a top priority for Senate President Joe Negron, but the House, the Senate, the governor, they all have different priorities right now. So it's a better year than most that this could be something that happens, but right now they all have to be on that same page, and so we're just going to have to see how it all plays out.
And if you look at the forecast, the money is not coming in as lawmakers once had hoped. Okay, Marissa, thank you so much for your time. Coming up, this woman dreams of being president one day, and she is off to a running start. We'll show you how she got elected as a state lawmaker here in Florida, Pasco County, at the age of 21. Well, Pasco County elected the youngest lawmaker in state history. Last year, Amber Mariano was a legislative intern. This year, she's a 21-year-old state rep. Mark Wilson shows us how she did it and what she wants to do next.
2017 is a monumental year for Amber Mariano. She'll be getting her diploma from the University of Central Florida.
I'm about to graduate. I have 4 classes left.
She thought about going to law school after that, but then
plans changed.
and in a very big way.
Trying to figure out what bills we're going to file.
This 21-year-old Republican has a new title.
State Representative, District 36.
She just became the youngest person elected to the Florida House. Amber was inspired to run after interning in Tallahassee.
I was working for Representative Plakin and Representative Placencia. And Representative Placencia, he was actually moving districts. And he said, "Look, Amber, do you know anyone that wants to run in my seat?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And I just feel like God kind of placed the opportunity in my lap.
Amber was initially going to run for the District 49 seat in Orange County, but switched to the district representing West Pasco, where she grew up. She says her commitment to her Pasco County roots helped voters relate to her. They started to see past her age and experience.
You would think that with the age of the population over here, that they maybe wouldn't be so fond of a 21-year-old in office, but every single person that I would meet, at first they'd be worried, like, oh wow, because I look like younger than I am. And they would say, but then once I would talk to them and explain my point of view, they would say, oh, okay, like it's okay now that I heard you talk. I understand why you're doing this. And, you know, I think that really set me apart too.
We want to kind of clean that out.
Mariano also had a big supporter with some name recognition in the county.
So the water can then flow up to the Gulf.
District 5 County Commissioner Jack Mariano, also known as
Amber's dad, that's it.
He says he didn't fear for his daughter getting involved so soon in the world of politics.
I said, go get it. I wasn't surprised. I was very thrilled that she's going to start, you know, what she wants to do. We knew it was going to happen, just didn't expect it for then.
And Amber's living at home with her family in Pasco. She says there have been some jokes between her and her dad about this new dynamic.
He likes to say that I'm leapfrogging him, but I think it's a great asset to this county.
She says another asset to her new position was her role in student government at UCF.
You learn how to debate and have like civil discourse with other students.
She says she can see herself pursuing a bigger political role in the future.
Well, I've always said I want to be president, so hopefully there one day, but right now I'm worried about serving West Pasco County, and there's a lot of work here that needs to be done, so that's what I'm focused on right now.
All right, now coming up, our Fox 13 pollster Matt Towery predicted much of the drama we're seeing right now in Washington, and he's back with a new round of predictions. Plus, it's game show night with our final edition of Political Squares. Okay, please welcome Fox 13 pollster Matt Towery once again. Thank you for your time.
Sure, absolutely.
And for having the Midas touch and predictions. So you predicted on our show just a few weeks ago that we would see the president butt heads with Paul Ryan and Republican leadership as it relates to the budget. So what happened next?
Well, of course, the president gave a speech before Congress that was, for the Republicans, a true home run. So you saw Paul Ryan nodding his head behind the president, and everyone seemed to be on the same page. But as we know, legislation is very difficult. I used to be Newt Gingrich's chairman when he was Speaker of the House, and I saw it firsthand, and it's very hard to get something through in 100 days. Newt did manage to do some of that, but it's very difficult. And I think that as time goes by, Trump will become more frustrated with the Republican leadership because they simply can't deliver as quickly as Donald Trump expects things to be delivered. So I'm watching that very carefully as we get down in the coming months.
Meanwhile, you have raucous town halls. You have the Indivisible movement, which seems to be a kind of a wannabe Tea Party to the left that's trying to take off. Right. Where is this Democratic insurgency going?
Well, I mean, first of all, there have been a lot of news reports suggest that former President Obama is involved in this, or at least people very close to him. I sort of tend to think that's true because they're being executed so well. I mean, one of the things the Obama organization was known for was being very well organized. And I think you're seeing these protests and the like take place with a great deal of accuracy and effectiveness in terms of the political effectiveness they have. So I think they're not going away, and it's something the Trump administration will have to contend with.
You also wrote the book on news vesting, which, for those of you not familiar with it, you look at the news cycle and match it to investing.
Right.
You're investing a lot in defense stocks.
I started last year. My theory was the world was on fire, whether the U.S. was spending money or not. You had a lot of countries around the world that were having to arm themselves because of various circumstances. Now we've seen a shift. Donald Trump says we're going to have the biggest investment in the military that we've seen in decades. He seems committed to it. Personally, I'm investing in everything from companies that make the biggest ships to folks that are more household names. But I think in the long term, defense stocks will do well this year.
Matt, thank you for your time.
Sure.
Once again, we have more tips and predictions from Matt and others on our YouTube channel. Search for Craig Patrick's Money, Power, and Politics and click subscribe. You'll also find our humor and trivia segment, which brings us to our final edition of Political Squares. We'll try to wrap in some questions about Trump, maybe former President Obama as well, with former Bucks Brad Culpepper and Chidi Hanatu.
One of these stars is sitting in the secret square, and the contestant who picks it could win a special prize. Which star is it? John Wilson, Jen Epstein, Vanessa Rufus, Chris Cato, Russell Rhodes, Mark Wilson, Matt Towery, Marissa Lynn, or Charlie Belcher. All on the Political Squares. And here's the master of political squares, Craig Patrick.
All right, everybody, Buck versus Buck. This is the final round here. We have a bit of a bonus round, and Squares, thank you so much for joining us.
And glad to be here.
And our Glory Days Bucks, thank you for joining us too. We have Chidi Ahanatu, who's been our X. We have Brad Culpepper, who's been our O. Brad, what are you thinking so far?
Well, it's been a rough, I got a tough competitor over there, so I got to come from behind.
You can even this whole thing out right here and now.
Today's
By the way, you had a tough question last week.
They're all tough for me.
Yeah, they're all tough.
But you know what? I'll go with Charlie to start out this game.
Charlie, this one's all on you.
Oh, yikes, pressure. Wow, it's like a kicker lining up for the game-winning kick. All right? I'm going to automatica this. What you got?
How many United States presidents have been impeached?
I know the answer to this. I know it was Andrew Johnson, and actually completely removed from office, if I remember correctly. Bill Clinton, impeached but not removed from office, because impeached means brought charges to Congress. And Richard Milhouse Nixon. 3.
That is correct. I agree.
That is correct, and the answer is no, it was just 2. That's another trick question because Nixon was never impeached.
Richard Milhouse Nixon.
That's a tough one, Chidi. You get the X there. Wah, wah. All right, Chidi. What do you think?
I think I'm going to go with my man Matt.
Matt Towery, here we go. Which politician won a Mr. Tight Jeans contest?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I'd have to disagree.
You're going to disagree?
I don't believe there's any contests like that. So
you get that one right. X gets the square.
I think I'll go with Jen.
Jen, here we go.
All right, I'm ready. Round 6.
So you've heard the term throwing your hat into the ring, right? You're going to run for office, you're going to throw a hat into the ring. Where does that come from? What is that term? How did it originate?
Well, back in the day, spectators at boxing matches, they would wear their hats and then they would throw their hat in the ring to take a shot at the boxer. I don't know why they would want to do that, but
I'll agree.
You're going to agree, and you get that one right.
Yes.
There we go.
I think I am going to go with Marissa.
Marissa, she's the secret square. Look at that.
Oh my God. You got 3 of them.
You get the secret square.
Your house is but no room in your house with all the secret squares you're winning.
Again, yes.
Marissa, what do you think of that?
Ask him a tough one. Make him work for the secret prize tonight.
Well, here we go. What's President Obama's favorite TV show?
Well, I'd like to say it's our show, Political Squares, obviously. But in reality, his favorite TV show is ESPN's Sports Center.
That does not sound like the Obama I know. I have to disagree.
You're going to disagree.
Cosby Show?
Yeah, the Cosby Show. No, I disagree.
You get it wrong. He did say he likes to watch his ESPN Sports Center.
What, you don't think the president can like sports? I was telling the truth that time.
And with that, Circle gets the square.
All right.
And I miss out on my special prize.
Oh, no. Well, we've got another secret square up there.
Oh, yeah, good. Okay.
So we've got 2 secret squares tonight.
Of course.
There you go.
I could steal his prize. I will go with Vanessa.
All right, Vanessa, this one's on you.
all right, I'm ready.
Which well-known politician's wife used to be a Dolphins cheerleader?
I'm going to go geographically here with Marco Rubio.
That is correct, and I think I knew that.
So it is correct.
That is correct.
Well,
Agreed.
Sorry to say. Well, you got it right. I was trying to bluff you. No, you got it right. There you go. Circle gets the square. He knew that. Chidi, who's up?
I'll go with John. I haven't gone with John.
John, there he is. He's the secret square tonight.
Oh, you get it again.
Another chance at the secret square. Who would have thought, right? Johnny, shooting for the secret square. You ready?
Okay.
I am the first president to live in the White House. Who am I?
All right. Believe it or not, he is a relative. Well, by marriage. It's in my family. That would be John Adams.
I'd have to disagree.
You're going to disagree with somebody else?
Well, it definitely wasn't George.
The answer is John Adams. You got that one right. You got that one wrong. There you go. Look at that. We have a winner.
Well,
once again, Circle gets the square. The bonus round goes to Brad Culpepper. Look at this. You've evened it up. 3 rounds each, 3-3.
I backed into it, but I'll take the win, and I'm happy to be even with Chidi.
We're delighted to have had both of you here. Buck versus Buck from the old glory days. Thank you. Squares, thank you so much as well. Folks, we will see you next time around. And coming up, we're going to have some fun at a lawmaker's and governor's expense with this week's edition of 60 Days of Stupid. And so our state lawmakers are back at work in a 60-day regular session. Last year, we started something called 60 Days of Stupid, where we point out something that doesn't go quite as planned. Since we're near the beginning here, I'm going to start by having some fun at the governor's expense, taking some of his lines comically out of context in the kickoff round of 60 Days of Stupid.
It's time now for 60 Days of Stupid.
If there's one thing you remember from this speech today, I hope it is this. We're not going to make it easier to incentivize job creators to grow in Florida. By the way, I don't like either of those things. We're going to have less. That's going to mean less jobs, less tax revenue, less of everything.
There you go. Let's hope that it does not come to that. We have come, though, to the end of our show, so we will see you again next week. Until then, take care.